Hello everyone! Blue Star Saber here once again to do another One Piece chapter review, chapter 1173, Warrior Generation. This chapter I'm a bit late on. I was trying to do some other streams and podcasts first, but unfortunately the people that I needed to join those couldn't do it for one reason or another, so I've had to delay them. Hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later, but for now, as you could probably guess, they were probably Valentine's Day related. Hope everyone enjoyed their Valentine's Day. But for now, I'm doing this One Piece chapter here. So yeah, this chapter is basically following the events of the last one, as we're cutting back to the Elbaf conflict, if you will. Gabon giving the details to the new giant pirates and the monster trio, minus Luffy, of who their enemies are and all that stuff, while you see them causing a muck. Brock has left the Straw Hat group he was, trying to try and do something, which obviously somehow is connected to Gunko, while Elder Jaro announces to Elbaf the truth about what happened with Howard and Loki, and declaring war against the world government, with Usopp acting all fanboyish and all that stuff, with quite a lot of his fans hoping that it will finally do something. Will he do something in this chapter? Will someone else do something? And we'll also actually fight Dorian Broggy, as his group with him and his group of giants have gone to confront them. Well, before they kill Elder Jar. Well, we're about to find out in this review, if you will. But before that, we've got basically another reader request. Usopp smearing honey on the tip of his nose to learn Rhinoceros Beetles by Hiroshimiya. I can't really pronounce the name, but we see one beat. We see a bit of honey on Usopp's nose. He's closing his eyes, smiling. The Beetles seemingly is attracted, but it seems it's also attracted to Chopper as well, who's got his lips slipping and that stuff. Yeah, I could actually see a scenario like this happening where Usopp is like trying to do something this stupid, but then Chopper tries to bite his nose, and it causes some comedic effect. But yeah, it's a nice little cover thing. Granted, I think for a lot of people, so it's like, come on, they do something with Usopp now. Come on, it's his arc. But yeah, anyway, the chapter basically begins with a double-page spread of like where we last left off of Elder Zhao versus and about to fight the dummy reverse possessed giant pirates, if you will. With let's see, Jarl thinking what has become of these of the duo captains, if you will. But the giant asks what Zoro's plan is, but he tells them that he needs to tell you okay to cut them into pieces, asking permission. With Hajuden saying that's a good question since they're all members of the giant pirate crew, and I believe Susan saying since our priority is to protect Chief Jarl, if you will. But they won't really want to harm like the warriors of their legend and ones who they've got such high respect for. But then, just as they say this, let's see, you got some of the dummy reverse giants going like, is that Hajuden and Sturson? But then realizing, oh, they spotted us, and they as a quick reminder not to be sandwiched by them, or they'll be turned into dummy reverse demons themselves. But the two possessed giants end up mocking them about have you managed to unite all giant kind yet? And they're mocking, like, I guess the answer's no. Sort of mocking them for their goals, which triggers the two. And stuff, and they go like, okay, Rona, you can go ahead and slice them. But Zoro goes like, I hear you, brothers. As Zoro jumps off of Juden's shoulder, if you will. And they realize, okay, so your plan is not to be sandwiched by jumping over them and their heads and all that stuff. With Hajuden saying that's actually clever, which, to be fair, is a lot more clever than what people would probably were expecting Zoro to do. So you get the two Hajuden and Stussing running around them as they decide to flank them, if you will. And whoops, yeah, damn it, stupid phone. And as they're running around circles and all that stuff, Zoro is jumping on each of their heads, getting them all to like circle around him. And with them talking about how he's just a puny little punk that's above them, as Zoro uses the free sword style secret art crossing the sixth pass, which got a lot of people making a lot of Naruto references, but yeah, they all got sliced to pieces. With Stussen congratulating Zoro on a good job, if you will. And Zoro then comes to force between Dory and Broggy, and they both recognize him by shouting out his name. With Zoro just saying Dory and Broggy's names, as he uses what I assume is his sword to jump in the air. The two giants strike in a similar, and they both end up hitting each other in a similar manner when the first time we saw them clash in Thriller Bark, but this time they actually managed to slice each other, even cutting off their shields and all that stuff. And Zoro seems to be quite shocked by this, of Elder Joe just crying out both the two giant captors' names, and you see blood splatting, and it's like, yeah, and someone shouting, "Captains!" So yeah, so you had that sort of iconic bit of a fight there. Anyway, we see that Brook has not actually broken free from Gunko's arrow thing. Instead, he's just sort of crawling and pushing and all that stuff to try and get to where he wants to go. As the narration shows, this is Brook Branch Row 8, as he's pushing to get there. And then when he finally arrives at Gunko, he ends up calling her Princess Shuri, saying, "Is that you, Princess Shuri?" And of course, Imu is looking about. There's her tense eyes looking on Brook. With Brook saying that, "No, it can't be you," and all that stuff, saying that you look so alive, and you may have reminded me of her, but it couldn't be. But he just wanted to check just in case and all that stuff. And Imu's just listening on in silence, but going like, even if you're not the same person, you gotta be related by blood, right? Since that it revealed that if Shuri, if the person he's thinking of is alive, she'd be 80 years old, and she wouldn't really recognize the state that Brook is in right now. Again, the fact that he was an actual human being back then, not a skeleton. But he goes on about how her face, the blue hair, the mismatched eyes, not to mention apparently the connection to the Holy Land, and also his love for his music. It's thinking that it all fits perfectly with like this person that Brock knows. So he thinks that it must be Prince Shuri, and then to everyone's surprise, he ends up shouting, reader surprise, saying how he never wanted to think of her again for the rest of his life, and it's revealed that apparently Gunko, or Princess Shuri, if you will, is apparently a father-killing princess and stole the life of the man that he owed everything to. So basically, Brock had a debt to this king, but it seems like his own daughter killed him. So yeah, another royal child killing their father accusation, if you will. So yeah. But as Brock is saying all this, Gunko is starting to take control of her body again. Let's see. With Imu being a bit surprised, as I think as he realizes that something is coming back, as Gunko for a brief moment is able to gain her conscience again and tells Brook to run, and let's just say a bit of rather in your sort of face, let's just say fan service shot, if you will, from Older, which let's see, you probably see some people on Twitter complaining about, which to be fair, probably not the most appropriate time to have a shot like that, but yeah. But anyway, Gunko tells Brook to run. Brook is a bit confused, especially since the rope is coming off a bit. Coming off him, as even the kids mentioned their rope is coming off a bit. Brook is able to escape his rope, saying he's free at last. But Imu is going like, he's getting mad and saying, "Gunko, how darest thou?" With Gunko going like, "Brook, as Gunko is trying to remain in control, but Imu is determined to keep up his possession. As Brock realizes that the rope's sort of threatened again, but luckily he's already out of it, out of the arrow rope, if you will. And Brooke is confused what you're doing, and let's see, what do you mean by run? And asking, didn't you realize that you came to finish what you started? But Brooke ends up declaring, who in the world are you? But Emu is now seemingly back into control and seemingly striking Brooke, going like, shut thy mouth. What are thee to Gunko? As he ends up striking with his trident. And it looks like a very much sort of hockey clash. I'm not sure if Emu's using Conqueror's hockey on Brooke, but yeah. But you see Brooke seemingly blocking it with a shield, at least for the time being, as it seems like he has gone into battle against Emu himself. So, yeah. Anyway, we cut to like Usopp's branch Route 8, showing that this is now the Usopp group. As he goes like, yes, I am free. So this might be due to his mental powers, but Jinbei says, let's see, wondering like, why did they go slack for a minute, not realizing what's happened? Nami is let's see, realize that she's still tied up with something else and they can't really get it out, which is of course let's see Saint Summers is thorns. But Robin just tells Nami to just prioritize saving the children. And Brock is talking about how Jinbei is talking about. Let's see, hold on. Oh, damn it. Jinbei is talking about how the Western Village is far away, and let's see, apparently Ange took on running, thinking she not be able to make it, as we see her as Oda's emphasizing that this giant is running. And then we hear Sanji's voicing, oh, Nami, as she realizes, oh, that's Sanji, but we don't see him, as we are now cutting to like the Western Village branch Route 8, as he is just laughing about how the kids need to be walking. So he goes just ahead with saying that you're one of the demons that Chief Jal talked about, and you're saying that you're going to regret it, saying that Aerith is really strong. With some are saying, well, yeah, that's the point. That's why we are using you kids. So him talk about how, okay, so you're Gavin's son. Let's see, with Colin saying, just to say, untie these thorns and to him to shut up and all that stuff. The kids try to declare, hey, let us go, or at least fight us fair and square. With Summers going like, you're funny, but saying it's too late. Kids going pointing at the boat, the ship that's out in front and all that stuff, saying, that's where, tell them to just take a look at their homeland, because this is the last time I'm going to see it. And you get some of the kids like, no, I don't want to leave my mom and daddy. So asking someone to help them and all that stuff. And you got someone saying, hello, great one. Killingham here. Let's see, you got Killingham saying, let's see, Summer's trying to contact, let's see, Emu and Killingham, if you will. Pardon me. Saying how the mission's almost being completed. And he talks about how he wants to get out here as soon as possible, since asking if there's anything else they need to do. And then you get some of the kids' names being shouted, Colin, Yelava, and Earth, which is, let's see, Ripley's group has arrived, with Summers going like, let's see, who are those sleep tids doing? And saying, aren't they supposed to be keeping the giants occupied? Basically, Killingham's dream monsters. So you got all the parents running and all that stuff, as well as Omi, who's a grandpa. And one of the kids, I think Jarl's great-great-granddaughter, if you will, I think Yalva says, to look above from above. And we get a monstrous version of the giant monstrous Nika, if you will. As some of the kids shout, God of Destruction. With another kid crying out, let's see, Mommy, and all that stuff. Let's see, with some of the giants saying, you call that Nika? So they don't play game as off, as they talk about how we're the warrior generation. As you see a bunch of the giants drawing their weapons, including the scary mom. Let's see, taking down the Nika monster, or at least attacking it. The kids all shocked about how they're so strong. with let's see, we see the members of the new giant warrior pirates at knot with Zoro, basically, Gerd, Goldberg, and Road, if you will, as they realize that there's where the kids are, but thinking it's too late to run. As Gerd and Goldberg are about to do the double general Inkaku sovereignty attack, if you will, but Road says, wait, I can join in too. And he's coming to save his little brother. So they end up using the triple general Garvaku sovereignty. They do a massive giant slash thing that blows through that evil Nika's chest, if you will. It's about to fall on Summers, and he brings out a spiky club, if you will. Going like, are you trying to flatter me? He whacks it away, but unfortunately for Summers, he ends up whacking the ship they're going to use to transport the kids, destroying it. And as it sinks the ocean, Summers goes like, oh shoot, or the more S word, depending on the translation. That's in this chapter with Summers realizing, oh crud, I've screwed up our plan. Emu's going to kill me kind of situation. So yeah, that ends the chapter. So now, time for my overall thoughts, if you will. So yeah, I thought this was a very good chapter. We'll admit, not what I was expecting for the most part, at least with the the Summers and the kids, and all that stuff. But yeah. Okay, first off, I will admit I did like that. Okay, there's actually some thought into Zoro's plan because everyone thought he was going to do something stupid or leaving to luck, but it's like, okay, if we see, but you realize, but since what he's been told about these dummy reverse giants, if you go through them and all that stuff, you become one of them. So, so instead he decides like, okay, I'm just going to jump above them and strike them and all that stuff all at once. I thought that was actually a pretty clever plan with Zoro. It's like, okay, I can't go through them, but I can jump them. Granted, we don't know if dummy reverse would actually work on Zoro because we still don't quite understand the full scope of what it can do, which many people do theorize that, of course, the dummy reverse can only affect those of their homelands or those without devil fruits, which, if it's the former, then Zoro should be completely safe fighting them regardless, but we still don't know. But I do like how Zoro's asking permission from, like, Hedruden and Stussen first about, can I slice them? And they're like, well, we do need to save the elder, but we do want to respect these guys. But, of course, these demon-possessed giants have no respect for the new giant pirates and mocks them for their efforts to try and, unite all giant kind. And I just like how this annoys Hedruden and Stussen enough to like say, go ahead and do it, so teach them a lesson. But I do like how they're at least trying to like flank and all that stuff and like just go around them while Zoro takes care of them, which of course he does. Granted, they're probably not down for the count, given the fact that these dummy reverse giants are immortal and you probably need more conquerors hockey to try and take them down. But I wouldn't be surprised that Oda is perhaps, at the very least, maybe setting up, let's see, Hedruden and Stussen to take out some of these dummy reverse giants down the line just to have them fight something. I mean, Zoro is more likely to take on, like, the new, let's see, Dorian Broggy if it's in a fight. I don't think he's going to get back up by Hedruden and Stussen. I think Hedruden and Stussen's moment will be more of, like, taking out the other dummy reverse giants, which would be a pretty now on one hand it's not like they're just a bunch of mindless nobodies, if fodder soldiers, if you will, but they're dummy reverse giants, so it'll still be an impressive feat since I think they're being portrayed as big as Horus Jr. So they'll at least, I don't know, I'll give them something at the very least, but who knows? But that's what I am thinking of. But yeah. Anyway, but it seems like Zoro versus Dorian Broggy has somewhat begun. No, granted, there remains to be seen, but I do like how they seem to like, let's see, Dorian Broggy still recognizes Zoro and all that stuff. and attempts to, and so makes them attack each other and just uses the swords to jump up in the sky. Let's see for some impact and all that stuff. And then, and I do like how Oda does like the callback to like the first time we saw these two clash. Let's see in Little Garden and all that stuff, which makes some people wonder: are these two going to be fighting themselves or too occupied? But let's see. I do think let's see, Zoro is probably more likely to fight both of them at the same time. To be honest, just because that he needs to sort of like test himself and give himself a bit of a challenge this arc. So I think that's just a bit of a nod. Will they get Mitsudo and probably be too angry with each other and blame each other for that attack before going back and fight each other before fighting Zoro? Who knows? But I think Zoro will probably be fighting the both of them. So, but yeah, but it's still pretty impressive. Though I'm not sure if Zoro expected them to attack each other, but nevertheless, it seemed to work out in his favor. Anyway, let's see. Anyway, the stuff that's probably the most, let's see, for me at least, the most interesting stuff is like the Brook stuff this chapter, which, of course, after this chapter, many people are saying that Brook's the official MVP of this arc, not Usopp, which has gotten some Usopp fans a bit of a hard pill to swallow, but I'll get to that in a bit. But yeah. But I do like that. Okay, Brook is just crawling. Let's see, he's not actually broken through of those arrows, because then that would have made Brook, let's see, much strong. Let's see, done something that not even Jinbei could do. So, but yeah. But I do like how he's just crawling because he wants to try and meet, let's see, Gunko, because he recognizes her. And it turns out Brook recognizes her as ever some people suspected that she was some sort of princess. Apparently her name is Princess Shuri. And it seems like Brock thinks it's wants to, and Brock is like, let's see, recognizes her features and all that stuff. Let's see, the mismatched eyes, blue hair, and all that stuff. And not to mention that, okay, she does have some connection to the Holy Land and also likes her music. Thinks that it can be the case, but thought maybe are you like related to her? But no, he thinks that, okay, it seems to be the case, which she think the case, even though it's like, she should be 80 years old at this point. So, yeah, it seems like Brook has quite a big history of her. And all that stuff. But for the reason... And there's a very good, I think, reason as to why Brook never brought this princess up before. And despite thinking like this is like such a major revelation about Brook's past, it's because Brook actually turns out to actually hate this person, Princess Shuri, because... it turns out she's also killed her. She also apparently killed her own father, if you will. And as a result, Brock never wanted to speak to her again because, well, Brock, let's see, is arguably indebted to this person. Arguably, I wouldn't be surprised if, let's see, Brock, let's see, this was like Brooks's like to him, his Shanks, his Bellamere. I don't know, let's see. And arguably that this is the first person Brock has been indebted to rather than like a Luffy and all that stuff. It seems like Brock owes quite a lot because the death of his death by the hands apparently of his own daughter made Brock so angry he never wanted to speak to this daughter again. So yeah, it's like I think it make arguably you could say whether or not how much this is left field. I know there's some people are probably thinking this way of Gunko, but at the very least, I think Oda's done a very good inverse explanation as to why Brock has never mentioned her before. Now we do know that Brock was part of a royal guard, and it seems like this is the kingdom that her kingdom was a part of. So yeah, but as we know, there's like before Gunko was possessed by Inu, we remember seeing a flashback of her crying about her father dying or something. So there's probably more to the story than Brock's not realizing, and well, I think some people might be thinking like, oh, not another, let's see, false death of a king by their own child, let's see, trope, which, I don't know, let's see, arguably, maybe Oda's doing it a bit too often, but I think Oda, let's see, is doing this just to draw some sort of parallels of the arc, and let's see, give to give sort of Brock a sort of like realization that okay, this is something similar to what happened with Loki. Let's see, granted, this is probably for more of Loki to try and come in and probably try and give Brock to consider this possibility and all that stuff. So, yeah, but arguably, this will play a role down the line where it's probably revealed that it wasn't really her who killed her father, or if she did, she was forced to by Emu or something. I don't know. It's probably going to be a much more dark and tragic since we know Gunko ends up becoming like Emu's slave, if you will. And I want to admit, I do like how we start to see signs of her breaking free, but particularly when she recognizes Brooke. So we've got a sort of way of getting rid of Emu if Odin needs that required and that stuff, since Emu arguably is going to be one of the two final bosses of One Piece and all that stuff. Besides, it's him and Blackbeard, if you will. So he can't really be fully defeated now, but yeah. But I do like how we get to see someone starting to break free from Emu's control. And I do like how Emu is like, he's so furious about this, tries to force his will against Gunko again, and then attacks Brooke, thinking like, what's thy relationship to Gunko and all that. So as a result, we've got Brock being not only the first Straw Hat to talk to like the king of the world, if you will, but also the first Straw Hat to fight him, sort of like how he was the first crew to fight Big Mom. So Brock's upscaling. Granted, I don't think he's going to win, especially if Emu is using Conqueror's Haki. Granted, it's impressive that he's able to block that even for a brief moment, but there's no way Emu Gunko is losing to Brock, at least by himself and all that stuff. At least Brock. Brock isn't winning, not by himself at the very least. So yeah. So I do like that. Granted, I do like how brief moment that Gunko was able to break free was enough to get the arrows wiggle out until the Straw Hats and Brook were captured can get out of them and all that stuff. So yeah, I did like that. So I will admit the only criticism I have is perhaps you're not being subtle with that shot of Gunko, if you will. That feels a bit fan service, if you will. And this is probably why you get a bunch of people on Twitter trying to color in the sort of legs, if you will. But yeah, it's kind of a bit in your face. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah. I mean, yeah, okay, Gunko's like 80 years old, but still, but we don't know when she became fully immortal. But so I wouldn't get to see any of you otakus be oogling her just yet. So bad joke aside, I probably shouldn't do that given what's been going on in the world right now. I apologize for any offense. But arguably, yeah, this is not necessarily the most appropriate shot of Gunko that was being shown when she's telling Brock to run away. But yeah, nevertheless. Anyway, I'm glad that the rest of the Straw Hats are now free, so they can now end up doing their own sort of thing. Granted, Usopp's finally free, which I know some people are like, okay, Brook's got a bit of a head start, but I think Oda is slowly going to get Usopp to do something. I mean, his group was narrated as his group, if you will, of the Straw Hats. Granted, I do like how they're all free except Robin because of the phone thing, so arguably that is probably more building up to like Sanji coming to like fight Somas, if you will, because Robin tells them to prioritize rescuing the kids and all that stuff. So yeah. So and also we hear Sanji's voice going, Nami Swan, if you will, and Nami recognizes. So he's pretty much probably going to get the Straw Hat's going to tell him what's going on with Robin and all that stuff, and like who's likely to do it, and so building up for them to fight Summers. I'm hoping that the rest of Straw Hat's free. They're going to be arguably maybe taking something like killing him and his dream monsters while Usopp's leading the charge, if you will. So, so I think we'll at least see something about that, maybe. But yeah, anyway, I do like how, and I do also like how when the kids are sort of like marching, you got Colin saying, you're one of those demons Jarl mentions, and thinking that you guys are never going to get away with this with Summers like Let's see, no, kids, it's too late. We've totally won this and all that stuff. And I do like how when Colin says, "Don't underestimate the might of Elbaf," he's like, "Oh, I'm not. It's because you guys are so strong is why you're being kidnapped and being held hostages and all that stuff." So yeah, I do like how the parents and the grandparents and all the other guardians, if you will, arrive. Granted, I thought I should mention that apparently Ange, the teacher assistant for Jarl, has also been commented of heading off to where the kids are from Jinbei, and like last bit thing. Now, granted, I do know what happens in the next chapter, but I'm not going to spoil it for this one. But this led to a lot of people wondering, "Oh, is she about to go full on traitor? Are we about to get a traitor here?" But it seems like that. Let's see, it seems like that's not being addressed just yet. But yeah, Ripley and Omi have arrived. Their kids and grandkids are excited, if you will, that they're here and all that stuff. So they've gone and done it. Let's see, they've gone to try and save them, but of course a Nika monster has arrived. I will admit, props like all the giants. Let's see, giants. They're from talking about the Warrior Generation damages the Nika thing. But what I found more really impressive is that you got like the new giant warrior pirates attempting to do Dorian Broggy's move, but then of course, since there's three of them, the road says, "Let me join in to help my brother." They end up doing a triple one, and it blows a hole through the Nika monster. Let's see. So arguably, for those who are like wondering, like, are these new giant warrior pirates weak? They're not strong. Why are they over focusing on them? Here you go. You got a bit of strength, and it turns out they can do, let's see, Dorian Broggy's move, and it seems to be a bit more common among Elbaf, though arguably Dorian Broggy's would probably be far more stronger than this one. But this triple combination is pretty fun, and it does make me wonder if we're going to see, let's see, at least, all 5 members of the new Giant Warrior Pirates do this combined attack, or is it just going to be that's as far as we can get with this triple one? But nevertheless, it's kind of cool seeing them get this action at the very least. They're probably not going to get too much action, really, but I don't mind these minor bits of action for characters like them. But I do like how, as the giant Nika's falling, Summers ends up trying to whack it away, and it ends up destroying the ship in a sense. The kids have been somewhat saved by Nika, granted perhaps the wrong Nika, the more nightmare version that they think of, but nevertheless, Nika has destroyed the ship, and Summers, who has just been so calm and all that stuff, is like, "Oh crap, I just loved his reaction." See, because even though it's the giant pirates that caused the Nika to fall, he's the one that ends up whacking it into the boat, and this arguably put a wrenches in the plan, which arguably means that something else needs to happen, otherwise they lose their hostages and their advantage over the giants. But I'm curious because Oda likes to build more attention to it. And we'll have to wait and see how Summers responds. But one thing I'm certain for is that after this chapter, given the sort of the screw-ups that Summers is seemingly doing right now, I'm pretty certain Emu is going to have some very little patience and may even punish Summers like he did Saturn back in Egghead. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, nevertheless, I'd say Summers is kind of screwed, but I will admit his face reactions are always sort of like fun to read and look at, to be fair. So yeah, overall I think I'll give this chapter like an 8.5 out of 10. Arguably not as good as the last chapter with the build-up of like Elbaf declaring war, but I do like how you see Zoro's skills as a swordsman, and not to mention doing a tactical thing of jumping over them rather than crossing through. Doing that little nod to doing Broggy's first fight, if you will, that we see in the series. Brooke's history with Gonko, who's now might be revealed to be Princess Shiryu, and the sort of like history that they seem to have. The only really downside is that one fan service shot of Oda's did, if you will. Right, I guess it's not in your face as Fairy Tail, but it's not subtle either. But yeah, and of course the giants showing, be it Ripley, Omi, and that showing what they got against the Nika demon, and then of course the new giant pirates, Betsy showing what they got against the Nika monster, dream monster, if you will, and then Somas' own screw-ups disrupting their plan and his reaction to it, because yeah, he is screwed. So overall, a very good chapter. I thank those who end up listening to this review and for what I had to say. I hope you had enjoyed what I had to say, and yeah. But that's all I have to say now, and I'll see you all see again the next time I review a chapter, which hopefully will be some point next week, as there's a break. But yeah, but for now, I'm Blue Star Saber, signing off. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.